Hello, welcome to another live. I'm Neil Millard, an IT contracting expert, maybe. Uh, Welcome to this session. We're going to be talking about a very scary subject today, and it is compliance. Will you comply? It's not quite as bad as being assimilated by the Borg, but it could be close. So, let's get into this. So, contractors versus employees. You probably fall into one or both categories, and some contractors fall into both for the simple reason that, yes, they're a contractor, they've got a short-term contract. And by short-term, I mean 3 months, 6 months, heck, even 12 months could be a short-term contract, same as the Formula One drivers, right? But they're paid through an umbrella company. And as an umbrella company, that means you're an employee of the umbrella company, which means a lot of the compliance is dealt for you, as it was when you might have been an employee in the past. You know, if you had like one of them, what my mum would call a proper job. So compliance is everywhere though. Even as an employee, you're not able to avoid all the compliance. What does compliance mean? Well, it means to tell somebody about something. It's simple as that, really. You must comply with a rule. You must comply with reporting something. You must do something and tell somebody about it. As my old boss used to say, you could do it, but it ain't done until you've told me about it. So what are we talking about, really? Well, here's an example. In the olden days, a couple of years ago, in the UK at least, we had this thingy called tax discs. If you had a car, then you had to pay road excise duty. You still do have to pay road excise duty, but they'd done away with the paperwork. They did away with the actual tax disc. However, as you can see from the date on this rather artfully drawn tax disc, it's very much a thing in our friends over in Southern Ireland, or Ireland as they like to call it. Someone thought they'd do a great job on the compliance by displaying their own tax disc that presumably they drew with their own fair hands. The rightly sum of €200. Only trouble is that when this was photographed, it was already out of date. So not only did they get fined for not having a tax disc on their car that was like an actual tax disc, the fake one they had was out of date as well. So what a blunder. You might have seen the full story on LinkedIn. It's a funny read, I suppose. So yeah, tax discs, that's just one example of something that you need to comply with the law, in this case, where you're demonstrating that you've paid tax on something or other. So tax features quite heavily. The government, they love governance, they love compliance, and they love compliant population. So who's interested in you? Well, like I just said, tax and His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. Hopefully that won't date this video too badly. So this is the organisation in the UK that collects tax on behalf of the UK government and the Crown. And they want you to be compliant. They want you to pay the correct amount of tax. So working out how much that is means wading through a ton of law. You can have an accountant, and then you can have a tax accountant, which is even more specialized, because the law books about tax are huge, multiple lots. And if you're doing a self-assessment, hopefully it's quite simple. Hey, they call it self-assessment. They expect some people to be able to do it themselves. And so the law can't be that complicated, right? But when we get on to other matters, like companies, then it can be the next level of complexity. Just take the autumn statement. They said that something that a rule that they put in last year, which would have been April, was about being able to claim certain capital expenses against paying corporation tax on those costs. And this is to do with when you can claim tax relief against buying certain stuff, because believe it or not, you can buy stuff for your business and you aren't necessarily allowed to claim all of the tax relief against it. And so that's just one example of where you think it might be straightforward and really it isn't. Anyways, so tax and HMRC. Companies House are also interested in you. So Companies House is the government organisation that looks after companies in the UK and they look after the companies in England and Wales. Scotland have their own register. Northern Ireland have their own register, and those make up the UK. So Companies House is just England and Wales. But you have to report various things to them about if certain aspects of your business have changed since the last time you told them about anything. But yeah, you have to tell them stuff. That's what the compliance is about. Making sure your records are up to date, making sure that their records match your records. The ICO also interested in you. Now, these have far-reaching powers. The ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office, is the government organisation that looks after data protection in the UK. So if you're looking after any type of, I suppose PII is part of it, personal identifiable information. So people's names, addresses, credit card numbers, all that sort of stuff. If you're looking after that, then you need to ensure that it's safe and make sure that people can't hack it and things. And if you do get hacked, then you have to tell the ICO about it so that they can do something with that information. No idea what they do with it. Probably fine you or something for telling them. Who knows? Anyway, they're interested in that sort of thing. But ultimately, we want to keep the data safe, so we'll do that. It's more important. The pension regulator are also interested in you. They're interested in you from another new rule that the UK government brought out, which was if you pay staff, if you have staff on your payroll, then you must automatically enrol them in a pension. This just shows that we all need to look after each other in old age. We don't want to work forever, and as part of that, we have a responsibility as employers to make sure that our employees have got enough money to live on when they're no longer employees. And sadly, not everyone takes this responsibility seriously. Pension regulator, on the other hand, does, and you need to tell them about various things. Have you got certain stuff in place? And there's a couple of forms that need to be done on a regular basis. Insurance. You can never have too much insurance, right? So insurance is also talking about thingamabobs and making sure that you have insurance. As a personal level, if you have a car, not only must you have road tax or vehicle excise duty, you must also have insurance for that. Similarly, if you run a business, you must also have insurance for your business. And there's various bits of business that you must have by law. There's various bits of insurance that you might want to have just because it's a good idea. And then there's some others that you probably could do without. It depends on the risk and what you're doing. But again, they are also interested in you, and you must also have insurance to be compliant with some contracts. So these all line up and join up together. So we've got the business, we've got the contracts, we've got the insurance, and then we've got the tax, more tax. So we spoke briefly about some tax, and then there's more tax. Again, if you are hiring staff, even if it's just yourself, then you might have a payroll. So responsible for reporting the PAYE, pay as you earn tax, and also national insurance contributions. And there's a little bit of fun that can be had around that. The UK government have just announced that the amount of national insurance contributions that an employee has to pay is going down by 2%. Great. It was 12%, so 12% of your earnings above a threshold get taxed at 12%, and now they only get taxed at 10%, so you get 2% of your earnings back, which means hopefully spend that on something nice, like taking your partner or best friend out to dinner or something. Whatever floats your boat, right? But there's more tax, and that has to be recorded, done, and then told about to the revenue. And so you can see there's quite a bit of administration and things to do with compliance. Some of it involves more action, some of it involves a cost, and some of it ultimately involves telling somebody else about it. So 3 C's that I've developed gives you a framework so that you know what you need to record, what you need to do, and who you need to tell about it. All with deadlines and times so that you keep up to date with all the compliance, because another thing that the compliance people love to do is send you fines if you don't tell them stuff. And nobody likes fines. So if you know what you need to do, who you need to tell, when you need to do it, you can stay compliant and confident about you in your contracting. We'll tell you about stuff before deadlines. And all this is in the framework. Because when you've got big responsibility, you've got big decisions. And decisions and responsibility go hand in hand. You need to ensure that you're compliant and you follow the guidelines and the compliance and hit all those deadlines. And I suppose most important, reporting to HMRC, because they're the most excitable bunch out of the compliance lot. After all, that's who got Al Capone. When you're a contractor, you also have choices with cash flow. And when you're going through the umbrella company that I mentioned right at the beginning, you pretty much have a fixed cash flow. They control the invoicing, they control when they pay you, they control how much they pay you. If you're running a limited company, you have a lot more choices. You have the choices about invoices, although arguably some of that's in the contract. Invoice your customer, and then they will pay the invoice. Once that money's in your bank account, you then need to account for it. You need to calculate the tax on it. And then you've got the very hard decision of deciding when your payday is. Is your payday monthly, weekly, or even quarterly? All your control. Like I say, decisions and responsibility. But it gives you freedom about how you run your business in the way that you want to run it. So if you want to know more, you can follow our quiz here. That's what the landing page looks like. If you're considering a career as an IT contractor, or you already are an IT contractor and you're using an umbrella company, then you can find out how far away or how close you are to being an IT contractor with all those flexibilities and choices, and how much fun and how better paid you can be. So if you're ready, go along to our quiz at devops-contractor.scoreapp.com. You can take the quiz and we'll reply to you, or I'll reply to you, with a special results and where we can help each other going from there. I hope this session has been useful, and I will see you next week for another session. Ciao.